tell them check out the blog, bro. YouTube channel called MKO. It's pugilism, boxing algorithm. M stand for Marvin and Kevin's initials KO. Yeah. What is good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and of course check out our other videos. We've got a whole catalog. We've got over 100 videos on this channel, and yeah, I encourage you to check them out, subscribe to the channel, give us a chance, you know, and yeah, have a watch of them. So this video right here, we're going to be speaking about Eleider Alvarez versus Joe Smith Jr. Both guys are, to me, kind of fringe sort of world level guys. They're world class guys. Joe Smith Jr., I remember him specifically for ending the career of Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, knocking Hopkins out of the ring. Eleider Alvarez, another guy who is world class, very classy guy. He was the man who KO'd Sergey Kovalev back a few years back, and then Kovalev came back, defeats him in the rematch. He recently had a win over sort of an unheralded guy, American dude, and yeah, so going into this fight, these guys, Smith Jr. and Alvarez, they were quite evenly matched. Both guys had sort of respectable records. I think the only difference being that Joe Smith Jr. is a rough and tough guy, but he had fallen short at world level multiple times against guys like Sullivan Barrera and Artur Beterbiev. You know, Alvarez had been successful beating Kovalev at world level, but then, you know, lost the rematch and was trying to sort of find his feet again, you know. He was even saying, I think, before the fight that, you know, had he won the rematch against Kovalev, he would have had a great sort of television deal and multi-million-dollar deal, but that didn't happen. So both guys, they'd fallen short of world level, but they're still classy operators. So this fight going in was, I kind of slightly favored Eleider Alvarez, thinking that, you know, he would be the better boxer, the better technician. So I just thought, well, maybe he'll be able to outbox Joe Smith Jr., do it on points probably. But yeah, how wrong was I? This fight ended in a KO at the hands of Joe Smith Jr. And from the very first bell, you know, this fight was grabbed by Joe Smith Jr. and Joe Smith Jr. just pretty much dominated the entirety of this fight, because Eleider Alvarez seemed like for the entirety of this whole fight that he was just waiting for a big punch. He seemed like he was just waiting and waiting and waiting for the opportunity. He was boxing on the back foot. He was attempting to counter Joe Smith Jr., but the reality of it was that Joe Smith Jr. just threw far too many punches for him, and the opportunity that he was waiting for never came. It never turned up. So he was losing multiple rounds. I mean, it was that bad to the point where, you know, even the commentary, even like Andre Ward and Tim Bradley and the guys who were commentating, I think it's Joe Tessitore as well, and they had a fourth commentator as well. And, you know, these guys, Andre Ward was even saying, look, he's lost all 8 of the first rounds, the first 8 rounds. So he lost. And it was one of them fights where Alvarez just pretty much, due to his strategy, which I don't know what it was, but he was just waiting and waiting and waiting. As he's waiting, he's taking shots off of Joe Smith Jr. These are hard shots. These are stinging shots that he's taking. And that's pretty much what he done. He boxed on the back foot. He landed a few shots, but for the most part, he was on his back foot and he was getting beaten up on his back foot, you know, just taking shot after shot after shot, thinking he's going to get this opportunity to land one big bomb, and in the meanwhile giving away multiple rounds. You know, there was so many rounds that he gave away. I mean, it was up until the finish, it was pretty much a clean sweep. There was one sort of significant punch I can remember from Eleider Alvarez, which I think took place in the 9th round, where he landed a good right hand, just sort of a reflex right hand, and that stumbled Joe Smith Jr. But as we know, Joe Smith Jr. he's got an excellent chin, and he basically just sort of, You know, he took it, wobbled him a bit, and he just got back to his boxing again, and he just went on to win the next few rounds. And then, you know, we got a great KO. I think it was in round 10 the KO actually took place, but it was a great shot from Joe Smith Jr. Good little combination. And yeah, that's how the fight ended. It was a one-sided beatdown for Joe Smith Jr. And it ended with a KO by Joe Smith Jr. So, you know, basically it's one of them fights. You watch it from the beginning, you see the pattern going Joe Smith Jr.'s way. He's beating Alvarez to the punch. You know, he's being first and he's being last, winning all the exchanges. You know, Alvarez just on the back foot taking punches until he eventually gets KO'd. And that was the story of the fight. So, again, congratulations to Joe Smith Jr. He done very, very well in this fight. And yeah, so that was how it ended. A good KO victory for Joe Smith Jr. And we wish him all the best in his career. Where he goes from here, I don't really know. But we shall see. The bottom line is we shall see. It's a good victory for him. It's a KO victory. And yeah, he can go onwards and upwards from here. So until next time, this is MKO Pugilism. We are over and out. We'll see you on the next video.